Mike Huckabee was speaking at the ever-so-silly New Hampshire Freedom Summit, possibly setting up a 2016 presidential run, and he made this comment, which is raising some eyebrows.
We really want an America in which, instead of having free speech, we simply have a few forms of speech that are carefully protected by the radical left. And if you don't agree with them, it's not just that they want to put their voices to be louder, they want to shut yours down. Freedom of speech in this country, that for which those men grabbed those muskets off the mantle, did never mean that we're to have fewer voices, but more voices. It wasn't that we couldn't dissent, it was that we could, whether you agree with the opinions or not. My gosh, I'm beginning to think that there's more freedom in North Korea sometimes than there is in the United States. When I go to the airport, I have to get in the surrender position. People put hands all over me. And I have to provide photo ID in a couple of different forms and prove that I really am not going to terrorize the airplane.
Now, clearly a lot of people are angry because of the North Korea reference in there. And I actually want to genuinely pose the question to you guys, because his counter-argument is, look, I was joking. I was using hyperbole for a reason. Now, I don't know if I'm on the bandwagon of, like, you know, outrage or like, how dare you compare the U.S. to North Korea? But I will certainly say that whether or not you were being serious or if you were using it as hyperbole, it's still a stupid thing to say. Because even if you're using hyperbole and purposefully going over the line, you still went so ridiculously far over the line that it doesn't even hint at anything that even has a grain of truth in it. Don't get me wrong, I'm always talking about how, hey man, the NSA taking away our freedoms, Guantanamo Bay taking away our freedoms, you know, no more habeas corpus, no more due process, no more Fourth Amendment protection from unreasonable search and seizure. I'm on that more than anybody else. But is that what he's talking about? Fuck no. In fact, he loves those things. Mike Huckabee loves the idea of Guantanamo, loved the idea of the Patriot Act and spying when it was George W. Bush who was spying on you, okay? I mean, here's a guy who loves restricting freedoms as long as he gets to restrict the freedoms or his boyfriend gets to restrict the freedoms, George W. Bush, or any of the neoconservatives or any of the Republicans, okay? So he's silly because he's trying to draw a parallel between North Korea and the U.S. on the issue of restricting free speech? Okay. What? And when we talk about North Korea, come on, man. North Korea, arguably the worst country on the planet right now. They have fucking concentration camps. They have hard labor camps where people have to eat rats off the ground. I kid you not about this. People have escaped and written books about the situation over there. You have prison guards raping women left and right. The average lifespan in those places can't be more than a few years. Okay? Absolute hell on earth. We're looking at a situation, in all seriousness, I never make this analogy or this comparison, but I'm making the comparison because the UN made the comparison. It looks a lot like fucking Nazi Germany, what they're doing over there. Okay? To compare the U.S. to that, oh my God, you've gone fucking way too far. So whether it's hyperbole or whether he's serious is irrelevant because either way it's stupid. Okay? But putting that aside, he's talking about free speech. Like, oh, but they're restricting free speech. How dare they restrict free speech? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he says, oh, the left doesn't agree with free speech because they're trying to silence him. That's what this is all about. It's about him. Now, the reality is nobody on the left is trying to shut up Mike Huckabee through rule of law. He's just angry because he's been called out for his Uncle Sugar comment. Remember that? Where he's attacking women by saying they run to Uncle Sugar, meaning the government. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And his anti-gay stuff, which we've covered the recent stuff where he's getting even more ridiculous on that issue. He's just angry that we're calling him out for that. So he's like, how dare you restrict free speech? Nobody's restricting. Restricting free speech would mean dragging you off to jail and censoring you and actually not allowing you to say something by force of law. That's restricting a free speech. But even if you say, well, Kyle, look, man, he's not talking about that extreme level of censorship. He's just talking about, you know, casual censorship. The idea that you should shut up if you don't say something that's politically correct. And that's what Mike Huckabee's against. He's against that kind of censorship. Really, that's funny because when Martin Bashir said something that made some people uncomfortable, he immediately called for him to get fired. You want to talk about hypocrisy? That is amazing hypocrisy. The left always shutting down free speech when they don't agree with it. It's supposed to be to protect speech that isn't agreeable. Really? Then why the fuck were you out on Fox News talking about how Martin Bashir should be fired immediately for what he said that you didn't like?